Greetings, families. Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today, 15th of October, is exactly 37 years ago since Captain Thomas Sankara was assassinated. By this time, 37 years ago, he said goodbye to his wife, his children, and never returned home. This video is about some of the speeches that he gave ahead before. Some of our Africa leaders has betrayed him big time. Things that he said will shock you. It's happening even today. Families, listen, share the video, like it, so we can remember him forever. May his soul rest in peace. All the heroes of Africa, may their soul rest in peace. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you all.
Tree? Product. Enough? Food for thought. We can even exceed our production. Unfortunately, due to a lack of organization, we are still forced to reach out for food aid. Food aid. Who's blocking me? Who inspires us? Who settles in our minds? This habit, these beggar thy neighbor reflexes. We have to get rid of these subsidies by producing more. We have to succeed in producing more because it's normal. Let the one who feeds you also dictate his wishes. Let's only consume what we can control. There are those who ask, but where is the imperialism? Look at your plates when you eat imported grains of rice, corn and miles. That's it, imperialism. Go no further. Let's not go any further here. Proud guinea fowl. The owls are staring. Anarcho-syndicalism. Red, gentlemen, comrades, when you have a gun, who can spit fire and death? And that you can take orders by standing in front of a flag without knowing who benefits from that order, who benefits from that gun. Well, you become a potential criminal who needs more than just the trigger to spread terror around you. And how many military personnel are on tour in this or that country, on this or that battlefield? To bring desolations and crimes, but without understanding that they themselves are fighting. Men and women fighting for the same ideals as if they had a conscience. Sons of workers who see their parents go on strike against reactionary regimes, but who, because they've joined the army, agree to fight on behalf of reactionary leaders. Is there such a thing as a soldier with no political training? Ideological is a potential criminal because CDR militants responsible for security and who can have a big gun. We're not even sure that it percussion, but finally. The curfew was at 7 p.m. At 7 p.m., -10 comes into view. Chez la camarade. She starts telling the rivals. To the other candidates, but it's almost time. It's time to go. It's time to go. If you stay, you'll be locked up. Yes, some of them asked for the power to be kept on so they could do nothing. We've lifted the coup fair so that we're all on an equal footing. Of those failing disability. Here too, we need to start getting rid of this feudal art. These are the feudal pies of feudal education. Who told us that boys are always better than girls at school? Even when girls are pregnant or something like that, they're sent away, aren't they? We exclude them, but we don't even try to find out. The partner with whom she had the pregnancy there is not by chance in the class. And even if that's all, we'll let the boy have him. So the boy can do as much before as he wants. From the 6th grade if he wants he starts having children until the end of high school, we'll never send them away. But the girl, Even if she's just 1 day away from her baccalaureate, she'll do an endorsement and then be sent back. Which tells me that we have to give every woman a job. We have to give every woman the means to earn an honest living. Juliet Ricochet, from the Langlois newspaper. My question is for Captain Sankara. I'd like to know what you've been looking for in Moscow and Cuba lately. Because your travels also raise questions for France, but also for neighboring countries like Côte d'Ivoire. Well, I've been to Moscow, I've been to Cuba and elsewhere too. I haven't just been to those countries, because we have excellent relations with them, and we have projects with the different people in those countries, which we consider extremely important for our development. Yes. Country? Closer can save us a long trip to Moscow. We see absolutely no downside. Nobody offered me any help, which I refused. I don't think so. All I need is a Concorde, right? Because there are those who can afford it, that's all. Force doesn't understand Africa, and it's high time it understood France's African policy. We find it very French. In other words, it resembles other French policies. Yesterday, France was in this or that African country to or maintain. A chief, a leader escaped either to disembark from a caravel, another that you took with you. Even today, France possesses killers. Like Pierre Botha, they had the right to tour France, so beautiful. And so clean. They stained it. Stained it with their hands and feet covered in blood. And all those who made it possible. You will be held fully responsible for your actions. And elsewhere, today and always, I'm like him and he says what he thinks. I say it too, and I find that in a certain number of his judgments, he has the sharpness of a fine youth and the merit of a head of state who is totally devoted to his people, and I admire that. His qualities are great, but he also slices and dices too much. In my opinion, he goes further than is necessary. For the bright future of our country, our homeland or death, we will win. We believe that debt should be analyzed first and foremost in terms of its origins. Origins of colonialism. Those who lent us money are the same ones who colonized us. Who managed our states and economies? It was the colonizers who indebted Africa to the lenders, their brothers and cousins. We were strangers to this debt, so we can't pay it. Debt is still colonialist talk, where the colonizers have turned into technical assistants. In fact, we should say they've turned into technical assassins. And it was they who suggested sources of funding for the internal donors we use every day. As if there were men whose bailement was enough to create development in others. These fund bars were recommended to us, and we were presented with attractive financial packages. Records? We're in debt for 50 years, 60 years even more, which means we've been led to compromise the people for 50 years or more. But debt is its current form. Control by imperialism. A well-organized reconquest. So that Africa, its growth and development are governed by stages and standards that are totally foreign to us. Ensuring that each and every one of us becomes a financial slave, in other words, a slave to those who have had the opportunity, the cunning, the deceit, to place funds with us with the obligation to repay. Pay down the debt. Not a moral issue. Mr. President, we have listened to and applauded the Prime Minister. From Norway, when she spoke here, she said, as a European, that not all debt can be repaid, not all debt can be repaid. The debt cannot be repaid because first, if we don't pay, we pay with funds. On the other hand, if we pay, we'll be the ones to die. Let's confirm that. Those who led us into debt played the game like a casino. When they won, there was no debate. Now that they've lost the game, they're demanding repayment. But we're talking about a crisis. No, Mr. President, they played, they lost. That's the rule of the game. Life goes on. Unable to repay debt. Because we don't have the money. We can't repay the debt. We are not responsible for the debt. We can't pay the debt because, on the contrary, others owe us. What the greatest wealth will never be able to pay for, the debt of 100, is our end of the bargain. We talk about the Marshall Plan, which remade economic Europe, but we never talk about the African plan. Who enabled Europe to face Hitler's orders? When their economies were threatened, their stability was threatened. Who saved Europe? Africa. We don't talk about it much, we talk about it so little that we can't be complicit in this ungrateful silence. If others can't sing our praises, we at least have a duty to say that our fathers were courageous, and that our veterans saved Europe and ultimately enabled the world to rid itself of Nazism. Debt? This is also the result. Confrontations and, as we hear today, crises. Economic is wrong to tell us that the crisis did not come suddenly. The crisis has always existed, and it will only worsen as the popular masses become increasingly aware of their rights in the face of the exploiters. There is a crisis today because the masses refuse to allow wealth to be concentrated in the hands of a few individuals. There is a crisis because a few individuals are depositing in foreign banks colossal sums that would be enough to develop Africa. The crisis, because in the face of this individual wealth that we can name, the popular masses refuse to live in ghettos, in the slums. There is crisis because people everywhere refuse to be in Soweto facing Johannesburg. There is therefore struggle and the exacerbation of this struggle. Today, we're being asked to be complicit in the search for a balance in favor of the financial powers that be. Balance to the detriment of our popular masses. No, we cannot be complicit. No, we cannot accompany those who asked bosom of our peoples and who live by the sweat of our peoples cannot accompany them in their murderous approach, Mr. President. We hear about clubs. Club of Rome, Club of Paris, Club of everywhere. We hear about the group of 5, the group of 7, the group of 10, maybe the group of 100 and what have you. It's only natural that we should create our own club and group. Let's make sure that, from now on, Addis Ababa also becomes the headquarters, the center from which the new breath of life will flow. The Addis Ababa Club has a duty today to create the Addis Ababa United Front against debt. But that in this way we can tell others by refusing to pay the debt, we're not coming in a belligerent way, on the contrary. It's a brotherly way of saying what's left over. The popular masses in Europe are not opposed to the popular masses in Africa. But those who want to exploit Africa are the same ones who exploit Europe. We have a common enemy. So, our club Patrick Gardiste Abeba will also have to tell everyone that the debt cannot be paid. And when we say that the debt cannot be paid, it's not that we're against morality, dignity and respect for one's word, because we feel that we don't have the same morality as others. Rich and poor have different moral standards. The Bible and the Quran cannot serve in the same way those who exploit the people and those who have exploited them. There would have to be 2 editions of the Bible and 2 editions of the Quran. We can accept talk of dignity. We can't accept talk of the merit of those who pay and of loss of confidence in non-payers. Contrary. Say that it's normal today. On the contrary, we have to recognize that the biggest thieves are the richest. A poor person, when he steals, is only committing a petty theft or a peccadillo just to survive out of necessity. The rich are the ones who steal from tax and customs authorities and exploit the people. They are the president. My proposal is not simply a question of to provoke or to perform. I'd like to say what each of us thinks and wishes. Who here doesn't want the debt to be primary, simply erased? If you don't want to, you can go straight to the World Bank to pay.